All right, so the Buick Envision is a crossover SUV. We currently have the Buick Encore and the Buick Enclave. Size-wise, the Buick Envision fits right in between the two. We have about 164 inches on the Buick Encore, 168 when you talk to the Envision, and then 202 when you go to the Enclave. So size-wise, it fits right in the middle of each other. There's a couple of key distinctions between the Buick Envision that's sold in China and North America. One of them is the chassis setup. The Buick Envision in China has a McPherson front end strut with a CDC optional control as an option that you can purchase for the China market. But in the North America one, we have a hyperstrut front end suspension. So you get a different feel between the two. When you put a hyperstrut in and you take the CDC out of it, the car really points in the direction that you intended to go. So whenever you're driving down the road in a McPherson strut, you do have this tendency, if you make a quick lane change or maneuver on the steering wheel, the car tends to roll. But when you go to a hyperstrut, just the mechanics of the way the chassis is set up, when you put that slight input into the steering wheel, the car tends to point. So the cool thing about that is when you're driving, the car behaves the way you want it to behave, as opposed to just responding as to your input into the steering wheel. So it's a really neat concept. It's very similar to the Buick Regal. The Buick Regal also has a hyperstrut front suspension. The engine is a 2-liter turbo. It has 252 horsepower with 260 foot-pounds of torque. It's coupled to a 6-speed transmission. It's an all-wheel drive system. We have an intelligent all-wheel drive system, which is really revolutionary. It's different than a traditional all-wheel drive system. Traditional all-wheel drive systems utilize the brake system heavily to control torque between one side to the right and then a clutch to disengage front from rear. So this active or intelligent all-wheel drive system actually uses clutches, twin clutches in fact. So whenever you have some sort of slip from water, mud, stone, whatever it might be, between the left and right side, instead of using brakes to actually slow down the spinning wheel, we actually pull in a clutch hydraulically so that the wheel doesn't keep spinning and you can apply the remaining torque to the tire that actually has traction. So it's much quicker response time. As far as intrusiveness from the chassis system, it's almost completely abated. So you get a real more confident, comfortable driving, especially in snow. We just went through today a lot of snow. This car just performs amazing in the snow. And for that matter, any kind of just adverse condition that might not just be smooth, dry pavement. Okay, well, I mean, as you pan around, you can really see the styling that speaks in this car. There was a theme of kind of an aerodynamic type of flow to it, and the design did an amazing job. They have this really nice propeller style front end that really floats at night. You have these great LED pin lights that kick in, and the whole car really starts to come alive with a nice ice blue tint to it. You'll also see that everything that I touch, and I'll challenge you to do this, get in a comfortable driving position. And when you get into this position, you look at your fingers, you look at your elbow, you look at your knee, and everything in this is soft and stitched. It was imperative to us that we made a really luxurious, confident, but comfortable driving experience for the customer. So we ensured that everything that they touched had a nice soft stitch to it, and it's a nice French contour stitch to what the actual interior leather is. But the other thing that is really neat in this is the technology, and it just starts screaming out because there's just these buttons that a lot of people, they may have never seen before, especially in a Buick. Some of the things that are right here are one of the coolest things that we've got. So this button right here is active lane keep assist. So we have a camera right behind the rear view mirror that is constantly looking at the lines on either side. So if you talk to someone in the rear and you get slightly distracted, the car is taking care of you. It's looking at the lines on either side. If you start to drift to one side, instead of just alerting you, the car will actually put 4 Newton meters of torque into the steering wheel, very subtle, and nudge you back onto the road. If you go a little too quick or it's too aggressive of a turn, you'll get the 4 Newton meters, and you have a haptic seat that actually alerts you, hey, you need to pay attention, something's going on. We also offer the HUD. So you have a heads-up display so you can keep your eyes up on the road. It'll show everything from tach to speed to songs that are playing on the radio. So I mean, it's a really confident type of experience that you don't have to keep your eyes down there, although it is a gorgeous 8-inch display. Paired up with the infotainment system, another 8-inch touch display. It has kind of an app-based type feel to it. That is going to be paired up with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto next year. So you'll be able to link or mirror your phone, either Android or Apple, to the car. So Google Maps, if those are things you would prefer over the native navigation system in General Motors, you'll be able to do that. Okay, so you'll notice there's a lot of hints to aero in this car. We worked overtime to make sure that the aero hits on this were very, very minimal. Although it looks really cool, there's a lot of effect even in this rear spoiler. It takes all the eddy currents and things that flow off cars, cut it down to make a minimal wind drag on the vehicle. You also notice in the back end we have some nice bright features, but it's not overly bright. We don't go crazy with chrome. It's done in a very sophisticated, very thoughtful way. So we have one-touch fold chrome handles that go. You got a full flat design. The full flat is actually a really cool piece of technology. So in this car, comfort was key. We had to give a comfortable ride for not just the driver, but the passenger and the second row. And in order to do that and get full flat seats so people have a lot of room for storage, you have to do an interesting piece of technology, and I'll show you it over here. So in this, you'll notice when I pull this down, the seat cushion actually dove.
Oh wow, look at that. Do that again. Wow.
And so the cool thing about this is when the seat cushion dives, you're able to put way more bolster in it. And when you put more bolster, you get better seat comfort. But because it dives, I can now take the seat back down way further than what you could traditionally do. So I get a full flat design, amazing seat comfort. I also can give you the option of up to 6 inches of travel. So it articulates. It also leans back. And a lot of people want to know because, this thing folds all the way up, right? Why would I ever want a seat like that? In designing this car, I had my second daughter, and I didn't understand why anybody would ever want this. And I'll tell you why you'd want it. When you put a car seat into this thing, and now you can move that seat all the way up, and that child is in the back and they're getting fussy, and all they want is your hand on them just to calm them back down, I can now bring that seat all the way forward and just drive confidently, not having to reach all the way in the back because I move that seat all the way up. And then when my parents or in-laws come in, just push it right back.
Now from a personal standpoint, what's your favorite aspect of the car?
Really, for me, it's a technology play. So the singular piece about this would be the optional adaptive cruise control. So we have an additional content that you can purchase. It has a front radar on the grille. And what it will actually allow you to do is when you select cruise control, you set it to 70 miles an hour, but if a car pulls in front of you, it'll actually slow down, use the brakes to maintain a certain gap. But where it comes awesome is when you're in a traffic jam, and here in Detroit we get them in a lot, and so you're in a traffic jam, you're already frustrated, and so you set adaptive cruise control and it's going to maintain a gap. The car pulls up and you don't have to push the gas, you don't have to push the brake, it's just going to scoot you along and you can just be totally effortless. But when the second you get out of that traffic jam and you're allowed to have some fun, the 4-link independent suspension, the hyper strut, the 252 horsepower, the Boss steering system, all lined together, this car is awesome to drive. Awesome. The Audi Q5 is an amazing machine, and I'm not going to tout it at all. But I will tell you that in development of this car, we get a lot of other cars and we learn from them, see what they do, and see how we can outbeat them. But in the Audi Q5, we put a drag race together against that and the Envision, and we beat it. And it was a fun day to pull away from a Q5. So this car is just so much fun to drive. It's very, very confident, and I think the customers are going to absolutely love it.
And then, when will this vehicle be available?
This summer, it will be in dealer lots. So it's a super exciting time. Anybody that's even remotely interested, I challenge you just to go out for a test drive. I'll make you a lover of this car.
What I can say is that I'm very proud of the team of designers, sculptors, and engineers who created this beautiful statement of Buick design. Like everything that we do for Buick, sculptural beauty is at the core. Design has always played a large part in the role in Buick's designs over the years and with its most recent vehicles.